Sixers sickos, man. Real Sixers sicko stuff 2 weeks before the NBA draft. I got my guy Scotty right here from DSM Media. He's going to join me in just chopping it up, talking about a couple different topics, a couple rumors, something that I find fun that just dropped a couple of minutes ago on NBA Central Twitter page about Mikal Bridges. And we'll just cover some other topics, man, about the Sixers, the NBA. Thank you all for being here. You can follow him right there at his that's on the screen. Also, DSM Media link is in the description. Yeah, glad to have you on the show finally, man. I think we collaborated one time kind of in like a round table.
Yeah, it was more of a round table, about 4 or 5 guys in there. So nothing direct, right? So we've been trying to link up for a while. Finally made it happen here. So I appreciate you having me, my man.
Yeah, no doubt. Anytime your DSM Media pops up on my feed, I check you guys out, man. You guys do good stuff. They cover the Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, the whole nine, anything Philly sports. So, tune in over there. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's Friday. About to head down to the shore tomorrow. So just trying to wrap up some work today, get some content in before we hit the shore for some relaxation. But I'm feeling good, man. How are you doing today, man?
Fantastic. Life is beautiful.
Love that.
Yeah, with that just reminded me, some people come in my comments sometimes and they're like, bro, you need to stop talking Sixers, chill out. They think this is my whole life. I rant for like an hour and then I literally, that's it. I live the rest of my life. So yeah, life is great. And you get to get out some Sixers frustrations right now and then you go to the beach, man. Well,
exactly.
Perfect timing.
Perfect way to do it. Perfect way to do it.
Absolutely. So the thing that just dropped, so we had some talking points definitely, but something I just came across before we went live here was a Mikal Bridges rumor. And I want to know how you feel about this because this officially puts the Mikal Bridges to the Sixers dreams of all Sixers fans, I think, to rest. Because the last year it was rumored that they turned down some trades for Mikal Bridges, some trade offers, and then like a month ago, ownership came out and said that they could possibly be looking towards building more of a longevity type of thing versus trying to win now. And that was like, that means they're going to trade Mikal Bridges. This comes out on NBA Central from Fred Katz, who is New York Knicks beat writer. I guess, the Knicks were probably also mentioned in the Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Sweepstakes. According to league sources, Brooklyn's front office has told teams it views Bridges as a co-star to whichever big name it can trade for down the line. So a rumor has it they have turned down offers consisting of a horde of first rounders for Mikal Bridges. They continue to show zero interest in trading him and would like to build around him with another star. So there you go, Sixers fans. No more Mikal Bridges talk. What do you think about that?
I actually find it really interesting from all different perspectives, right? From the Nets perspective is the most interesting to me, man. You look at what they're talking about here. One, this is the best player on their team right now, right? We can agree there. They're talking about him being, the ideal co-star to whatever big name down the line. So they're not even really giving him his proper due with that report, just as far as what he is to their team right now. But I just think it's hilarious, man. You have an opportunity to actually get ahead of your future right now and move this guy for whatever you can get for him. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of different teams interested in this guy. The Sixers would make a ton of sense, but, it almost feels backwards just going after him again after you traded him away. You could have just had him already on the squad. So it always felt a little backwards to me in general, the idea of going after him, trading like 3-4 first round picks and whatever else you need to do to get this guy back on the 76ers, right? But you ultimately do what fits best around Embiid and Maxey, and he was one of those guys that would be a prime candidate for that role. But I never really thought it was possible in the first place, man. At the end of the day, I had a feeling that they would do a deal with New York to get him with like Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo before they would be willing to trade him to Philadelphia. I don't know. I have this weird feeling around the league that teams don't like to do favors for the 76ers. So I don't know.
Dude, The Sixers don't like to do favors for themselves. And yeah, other teams don't like to do us
Fair
favors.
enough.
From like a very basic standpoint, if you just look at it and say Mikal Bridges instead of Tobias Harris last season, maybe the Sixers are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And I love that people, why do you always blame Tobias, or he's not the biggest, he's not the reason, or he's not the biggest reason. Like, I kind of think he is, because when they needed that number 3, he completely was not there at all. And we ended up, when you're relying on vet minimum Kelly Oubre, who you randomly signed at the end of the offseason, that's your third best star, So, yeah, Mikal Bridges there would make perfect sense. And that's just us Sixers fans dreaming because we traded him away in the first place. But yeah, I as far as the Nets go, man, it's just they got to be top 5 most dysfunctional franchises ever. We're in there too, by the way.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just wild how they keep holding themselves down. And yeah, you have an opportunity. If you're trying to build for longevity, if some of those picks are unprotected or something like that, that's exactly what you would be looking for.
Yeah.
Build longevity, try to get to the top, maybe do what the Boston Celtics did to them with the, Jason Tatum draft, trading that to the Sixers. Of course, we're not going to talk about that, but yeah, there's the Nets being the Nets and not helping the Sixers be the Sixers, man. So, it's over. Sixers fans, no more Mikal Bridges talk. They're going to build around him as a co-star, which it sounds like a little bit of an insult.
Yeah.
A little bit of an insult. Maybe he'll request a trade. Maybe he'll get sick of the stuff and request a trade, man.
That's always what it felt like it would take, like him wanting to get off of that squad and want to go compete for something serious around the league, and him making that known. Maybe it's not out in public, right? But to the front office, you make that known that you want to get out of there. But
yeah, I don't even know if he's a co-star. Do you think he's a number 2 on a championship team, or is he just a very high?
I do not.
Yeah, he's just a very high 3-and-D type of player.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. High quality 3-and-D, a little bit more than a role player. But, I mean, when you really think about what he does well, right, it really is as simple as 3-and-D. So, yeah, maybe a number 3, number 4, ideally, right?
There you have it, Sixers fans. It's over. It's done. Brooklyn will be Brooklyn. I want to get your opinion on the NBA Finals right now. I put out a clip yesterday because I had some Celtics fans coming at me because I was calling them frauds the whole year. I think to myself, I was just hoping that they would choke. I was like, all right, look, they're the best team on paper again, but they're going to choke like they always do. Turns out this past offseason, they made some real nail in the coffin moves. The Drew Holiday move, the Kristaps Porzingis move, even though they're winning without Kristaps Porzingis right now, which is wild. They could probably win without Jason Tatum, as stacked as that team is. Celtics fans hate when I say that, but
one game, yeah, they could do that.
Yeah, I really, and he'll probably have like a 50-point game tonight just to put the nail in the coffin, you know what I mean, and start the conversation again about Tatum MVP or whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, I put out a little bit of a video saying the Celtics did it the right way. They stacked the deck. They did everything right. They drafted right. They traded right. They did everything right. Over the course of the last 10 years, we started the process by trading Drew Holiday. He ends up probably with 2 NBA championships. We end up with nothing. Sixers did it wrong the whole time. And Sixers fans still won't admit to that, I think. And they like to call this a Mickey Mouse title run. What's your take on that, a Mickey Mouse title run? Because there's been some injuries for sure, but I just feel like they're just a powerhouse. Even with these teams, even if all these teams were healthy, I really, looking at it right now, don't think anybody was going to take them down now that I see just how deep they are and how well built they are. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. I think as Sixers fans, we need to swallow that pride, that dignity, and just accept things for what they are right now. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I was just like you throughout all of my shows all season. I was hating on the Celtics. I still had them, up near the top of my power rankings. I gave them the respect for what they were doing during the regular season, but still I kept the field open as far as who I thought could win the NBA championship, when in reality, this is a 64-win team that dominated all season. Like you said, didn't have Kristaps Porzingis at certain points throughout the season even. And now you look at them, what they've become throughout the playoffs. To see kind of Jaylen Brown's evolution, right? Like that, even outside of Tatum and in the addition of Drew Holiday, I think Jaylen Brown has taken a step forward in the bigger moments to the point where he gets Eastern Conference Finals MVP over Tatum, right? He's looking like the Finals MVP right now, depending on how you really look at it, right? Tatum had the big game in Game 3, but the evolution of this team over the last however many, right, 10 years, you could say, to develop and build this team out the way they have is just ridiculous to the point where they have covered themselves like a Game 1 if Tatum has a stinker shooting from the field. Now you have a Drew Holiday, you have a Derek White that can get hot at any time and give you 20. The list goes on, right? Even guys like Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard are contributing. Xavier Tillman out of nowhere in Game 3. I mean, it's impressive, and it sucks to say that. And I do agree. I don't think it's a Mickey Mouse run because you look at the first round. Yes, no Jimmy Butler, right? But they beat them in 5 games. The next round, they have a tough contest with the Cavaliers. They get them out of there in 5. Then you go to the Pacers. They sweep them as close as those games were. They swept the Indiana Pacers, and now we're looking at them potentially sweeping the Dallas Mavericks, who just went through Oklahoma City and Minnesota and these tough teams out west, and they're looking like they're going to get swept against the Celtics, which is crazy, man.
Sweeping the finals, man. Yeah, it does suck to say. I just have so much Boston Celtics hate inside me. It's really the Dallas Cowboys and the Boston Celtics. I can't. I think the jersey's ugly. I think the fans are annoying. I can't stand anything about those two teams, and they just. Well, the Celtics beat us all the time. The Cowboys keep, the Cowboys keep letting me have a party every time they find a new way to choke. But yeah, the Celtics, they're going to win it all, and we got to accept they did it the right way, man.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. I think that's the overlying statement here is that you just got to accept it for what it is. If the Sixers, right, roles reverse, Sixers go through the Heat without Jimmy Butler, go through, the Cavs, you end up losing Donovan Mitchell 2 games into that series. Then you go through and you sweep the Pacers, even though Halliburton's beat up, right? Would we want it to be called a Mickey Mouse? Mind you, it would be. It would be called it. Everybody would call it if it was the Sixers, but
absolutely.
You wouldn't want that, man. And that's the wholehearted truth there.
So we can kind of segue from the Celtics talk into the Sixers talk because a lot of, I think, what people think, I get a lot of comments. It's like the Sixers need to do what the Celtics did and get high level role players. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, that's easy to just say. That took years and years and years. The Sixers are now, they just lost in the first round. I mean, we took a step back somehow from, the year before. And you have one off season with a bunch of cap space and Daryl Morey in charge. And every year I say this is the final straw for me as far as this whole process era, everything. I feel like this one really is getting this one's really big. This is backs against the wall. You got everything in your arsenal. You got to get something done. And you got one off season to do it. And we're gonna talk about all of that right after I drop this sponsor. We're definitely going to talk about that and the Kelly Oubre thing. We're going to talk about that too. This is brought to you by Arena Club. Let me get my right thing up here. Here we go. We'll put you on the screen there. This is brought to you by Arena Club. In the hobby, it's not easy being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We hype ourselves up thinking we could pull a Tyrese Maxey rookie card, but with zero transparency. Until now, slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now, when I buy slab packs on Arena Club, it finally feels like I know what I'm getting. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/runitback. That is a crazy offer, 10% off of a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. That's arenaclub.com/runitback for 10% off of your first purchase. Shout out to Arena Club for sponsoring the channel. Yeah, this is a big offseason for the Sixers, man. I guess my first question for you is, what's your overall opinion on Daryl Morey as a GM and how much How much faith do you have in him building a winning roster this offseason?
Yeah, we've gone back and forth on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, a few times on this. I feel like as well, but I'm kind of just on Daryl Morey. I don't think that he's horrible. I don't think that he's great or that he's done something out of this world. Although I do think he has enough good moves so far to kind of balance out some of the bad moves. Letting Isaiah Joe go out the door, things like that. Ultimately, my confidence level in Daryl Morey this offseason, I wrote down 5 out of 10. That's what I wrote down. I'm in the middle. I know we have $65 million in cap space, right? We're one of the leaders in cap space this offseason. You have, I believe, 5 tradable first round picks that you could move this offseason to bring guys in. But there's just so little, it feels like, as far as targets, in realistic targets, right? Obviously, LeBron is a free agent this offseason. What are the odds? I mean, I do hold a little bit of hope. I don't know about you. I do hold just an ounce of hope that LeBron sees the vision with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Like, that's one of my, maybe it's like one of those far-stretched ideas.
If you really think about it, where he's at with the Lakers, right now, I don't even see why he would want to play another season with that roster. They don't have a chance to compete at all.
No flexibility at all with that roster, especially if they sign him back, right? Like, they have flexibility if they don't sign LeBron, maybe. But I just think when you look at the situations around the league, are there 2 players that LeBron could go and sign with right now that are going to get him closer to a championship than Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid? And that's when it starts to look realistic. And then you get into Rich Paul agencies, right? And you have the connections there. Obviously, LeBron has shown that he's a big fan of Maxey over several podcast segments. So it's a dream. It's a pipe dream, but it's not out of the realms of possibilities. It would be crazy to see LeBron come to Philly, but 5 out of 10 for Morey to do what's right. And the big thing for me is, what does it look like when Paul George is signed back to the Clippers, LeBron signs back to the Lakers? What is your backup plan? And that's where things get really curious for me, because I do think there's a world where we're going to have to explore that. I think that's very realistic, that we will have to explore other options outside of some of the big names that are obviously available. But I also worry about his reputation around the league, right? Like, guys like James Harden leaving the team, the things that were said about him, just the willingness, once again, to do deals with the Sixers, I worry about as well.
Yeah. 5 out of 10. I think what I'm hoping is that Daryl Morey strikes out on what he's trying to do. I think Daryl Morey could I think he can accidentally build a deep roster if he doesn't get what he wants. What he wants, I think it's pretty obvious what he wants. He made the argument really in his press conference that he was legitimately arguing that, I know everybody's talking about a deep roster, I know everybody's talking about building depth, but over the course of history, the teams with the most all-stars win. He was sitting right there saying it. And that's how he thinks. And it's not just rumors. That's how he actually thinks. That's how he's always built his teams. He's always targeted, the next big name. And so he's going to swing for the fences for guys like Paul George and or LeBron James with a Bronny, whatever you would have to do there. If drafting Bronny gets you LeBron, he's definitely going to try for all of that. And if he doesn't get any of that, if Paul George signs back to the Clippers, LeBron stays in LA, then I think he's forced to make marginal moves. And he's not a kind of guy that just throws things out. So he would be conservative in that regard and try to hold on to, the cap space and draft picks outside of marginal moves. So I don't think the Sixers need a big splash, really, when you look at the Eastern Conference and what the Celtics did. And I mean, the Pacers were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's be serious. Andrew Nembhard, second-year player that I didn't even hear of last year, honestly. was in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the Sixers aren't that far away as much as everyone kind of is down on them right now. Obviously, staying healthy has been the number one thing in Joel Embiid's career. And if he's not healthy for the playoffs, we don't go anywhere anyway. But if he's healthy, every year we got to say that if he's healthy, they don't need that much. They marginal moves, Alex Caruso type of move, maybe backup center. Everybody always throws Andre Drummond out there, but a couple of 3-and-D guys, man, like Royce O'Neal, maybe. Who's the other one?
How do you feel about Naz Reid? I saw different reports about Naz Reid maybe being like the dark horse that's available in Minnesota. Like, how do you feel about him? Because I do understand like the idea of keeping Joel Embiid healthy, getting a proper backup center that maybe Embiid just doesn't play back-to-backs next year. Like, I don't know how the fines will work for a player, of his caliber, how they change the rules like that. But
no, that's a great point. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Let's do that. Let's allocate a certain amount of money for fines and just play Joel Embiid 35 games, dude, because the regular season doesn't really matter that much.
Save him from himself, man.
And, we almost did it this season where you sneak in as the 8th seed, and we got stuck in the first round against the Knicks. That was the worst matchup we could have asked for at that point. But, do that. Naz Reid, I don't know. I don't know why Minnesota would let him go. Is he on? I don't know what his contract is like right now either.
He just got an extension last offseason, so I know it's a fresh extension. He did get a little bit of money, and that's the point. Like, if I'm guessing if they strike out on trading a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, but
do you think the T-Wolves are going to try to make a big move like that, or do you think that they think it? I just think maybe they just need another season to gel together, and I mean Anthony Edwards is 22, like. Who knows what the guy could be next season,
That's fair. And just add, one more offensive option, I would say, right? Like, to the point where you don't have to play guys like Kyle Anderson. So that would be ideal as well. But, you don't have to move, one of those 3 big men. It's just if they wanted to open up some cap space elsewhere. I'm not sure if guys need extensions as well, guys like Jaden McDaniels. But, that is interesting to think about. He was one of the guys that I had written down here. Jakob Poeltl. If I'm saying his last name wrong, I apologize. But
Jakob Poeltl, I think it is.
Yeah, from the Raptors. He was another guy that I saw as kind of a trade candidate for the Sixers. Just that backup.
As far as Naz Reid goes, like guys like that, I think it is time for the Sixers to go back to getting an actual backup center, because a lot of times we always overrate players as Sixers fans, but I feel like it's because we always have guys that are thrown in there because we don't have any other options, and then we overrate them, right? But it's time to get realistic, man. No more dudes out of the G League that we're relying on to play major minutes in the playoffs. I love Paul Reed, but at the end of the day, G League MVP, not like I don't see those real high level NBA role players in guys like that, like Naz Reid or whoever else. So I think they need to start targeting people like that who can come in and really have veteran NBA experience and can get it done. I'm out on Paul. I don't know if they trade Paul Reed. What do you think the Sixers do with Paul Reed at this point, man? Because we were big on last year. They re-signed him. The Jazz offered him this, and we matched it, and he somehow ends up being completely unplayable in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, man. I would try to dump him off in, some type of trade. If that's like a Caruso trade, like you mentioned, you dump him off with draft compensation, I would say. You just make it so that the salary switch works. But I would try to get off of that. That is one of the mistakes for Daryl Morey that I had written down here. Now, mind you, I'm not going to sit here and act like in the moment that I wasn't all for bringing back Paul Reed. I thought maybe he could be a good role guy, and can just helping that defense and rebounding coming off the bench for Embiid. But it just did not work out. The dude can't stay out of foul trouble, can't stay out of his own way. I'm out on Paul Reed, and I would try to move him just to get whatever you can get for him. Honestly,
I think they have to. I think it's kind of crazy that Doc Rivers hated the guy. And he had more production in the playoffs under Doc Rivers than he did under Nick Nurse. It just doesn't make nothing with this team ever makes any sense. I don't think you could bring. I think they have to trade him because now, you saw all you needed to see last season, really, I think.
Not ideal.
So yeah, they I don't know who the perfect backup center is, but that's definitely has to be, I think, one of their number one things, because every season it's the yearly it's the yearly on off Joel Embiid numbers every year. As soon as he sits, the team collapses. Like, how are we still here? How have we still not at least build a team that doesn't go minus 29 when Joel Embiid sits? So that's definitely has to be a big thing that they're looking at. And yeah, I don't think Paul Reed's part of that anymore.
Yeah, I do agree. I agree. I think you have to move on. We've tried it, right? We've tried it partially the last 2 seasons. Like you said, he did play a little bit under Doc Rivers and played a lot better. But I think you have to go with something proven, like we've been talking about. I'm curious. There is a couple guys that are out there. Obviously, the Hartenstein, he's going to be out of the price bracket.
Do you think he's worth what?
Going to be a trade candidate?
Do you think Hartenstein's worth? Do you think Hartenstein's worth what people are saying he's probably gonna try to get? I mean, I think what Sixers fans saw of Hartenstein might be inflated a little bit because of how bad we actually were at rebounding. The guy was just flying at the boards. He looked like Dennis Rodman in his prime, man. It was insane. And so initially, I'm like, hell yeah, Hartenstein, give me Hartenstein. But is he really that good, or did he just look like that against the Sixers? You know what I mean? And he never missed a floater the whole series. When the guy started hitting free throw line floaters.
He's another guy that just one of those perfect, like if you can get him in the right role, he's going to be great. Backup center, I would take him all day as a backup center. The rumor is that OKC is going to go and spend big money to bring him in. I think he would fit well with OKC as well. But yeah, I think it is just a little bit inflated from that series, man, because it was painful to watch myself. And you do start looking at him, you're like, oh, he's one of those annoying guys too. Like, he'll get in guys' faces, he'll stick up for his teammates. So he is a guy that you would like to have on the team. I just don't think he's like this otherworldly like center in the NBA, man. Absolutely. He just looked really good against Embiid on, one leg, I guess you could say. But
as usual in the playoffs. Who else did you say? Clint Capella?
Clint Capella is another name I've seen thrown around as a trade candidate, but he does have a higher contract than you would really want to invest into your backup center. So,
I've always
known bought out, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that would be ideal. I've always known Clint Capella as like an offensive rim running center kind of guy. Back in the Houston days, and then so as far as maybe Tyrese Maxey developing as a facilitator, a pick and roll kind of point guard, and maybe lineups without Embiid, Clint Capella could be nice in the pick and roll. But yeah, probably too expensive. And is Clint Capella much of a defender?
His better days are definitely behind him. I'm just checking his stats now. He did average a double-double last year, so 11 points and 10 rebounds.
Hey, for the Sixers, anybody that averages 10 rebounds,
1.5 blocks per game. So I would have to look at the plus minus numbers on defense, but looks pretty good for a backup center, right? When you think of guys like Andre Drummond, different capabilities like that, I think Clint Capella does fit the bill, but going to be a little too expensive, I would imagine. I did want to ask you something off something you said, Maxey kind of, improving as a playmaker for this team. How do you feel about that as far as who you put beside Maxey? Do you want to put somebody? He looked really good off ball with Harden, right? Like he looked great in that role, looked really good with the ball in his hands, obviously could improve as a playmaker, making other guys better. But would you rather see him shifted back to that off ball role, or more just like get him ready for the future as well by developing his playmaking skills?
Yeah, I think last year watching him in the playoffs, I think we found out really what Tyrese Maxey is, and really it's what I think he was from the very beginning. There was a period of time where I thought he's a good, and he would develop into more of a half court facilitator type of guy, but he's just not. I don't think he's really that at all. I think he's an absolute stud, just number 2 combo guard. Yeah, I got just Allen Iverson vibes in some of those playoff games, watching Nurse bring him around baseline screens and things like that. So yeah, I mean, for me, I don't want to change him anymore. I want him to absolutely amplify what he's good at and continue to rise in that and just be. I mean, the dude could average 30 points per game one season. He's really not far off of that. So for me, like a perfect big defensive two-way point guard who's a pass first kind of guy is what I would, put on the floor with Tyrese Maxey. A perfect world, Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday, yeah, that would be a great backcourt, man.
Perfect world, Drew Holiday. But on a lesser tier than that, Malcolm Brogdon. His name is always out there. But yeah, I think it has to be a pass first kind of guy. He looked great with Kyle. It's part of the reason Kyle Lowry looked good before he ran out of gas for us. Yeah, I want to keep Tyrese Maxey. I just want him to keep going, be that number 2, be a score first guy who can also make a play and he's gotten really good at that, but I want him to be score first. And then when the defense steps up or double teams or whatever, then he's throwing the lob or then he's kicking it out and things like that. So, that's what I want Tyrese Maxey to continue to do.
Caruso fits that bill as well. Obviously, he's a name that's been mentioned a lot. But the thing with him is just how much does that cost, man? Because some of the rumors are crazy with which you would actually have to trade to get Alex Caruso. But he's another guy that would be ideal.
Yeah, you're dealing with another Brooklyn Nets in that situation.
Literally.
Against Chicago Bulls, man. They're like, no, we're not trading anybody for less than 25 first-round pick. Like, bro, it's Alex Caruso. Calm down. The Lakers traded him for what? He's a great defender. I mean, he can run the half court, but he's not some kind of superstar. He averages 9 points a game. Why do they always put him up there like 3 first-round picks or something? Nobody's giving that.
I don't understand it, man. I really don't. These teams that just hold these role players, these great role players hostage. It's odd, man, when they're not competing for anything. But it happens all over the league, I swear. It just happens all over the league.
Both keep putting out this narrative that they're interested in winning. Like DeMar DeRozan might stay with Chicago because of their interest on winning now. Yeah, everybody's interested in winning now. You can't win now. You can't. And you're stuck with the Zach LaVine contract, too.
Yeah, he's another guy. See, now, is that like where things start to get dark, or are you open to LaVine? Like, is that like a dark place this offseason trading for Zach LaVine?
Honestly, I was no for a long time because of the amount, the upwards of $50 million.
Yeah.
But like in the next couple of years, $50 million isn't even going to be that crazy.
It's not going to matter.
Guys are getting 70. So maybe that's a lot out of $65 million cap space to put into a guy who I like Zach LaVine a lot, but he's not reliable really. I feel like in the biggest moments he would go like 2 for 13, and we as Sixers fans would be ranting and raving about him. Then you're stuck with him for, I think his contract extension just started not too long ago. There's like 3 or 4 more years on it.
Yeah, he's just at the beginning of it. It's all, you always have like this optimistic thought as a Sixers fan of any player coming in that seems like they could shoot the 3 ball, athletic, right? He could apply himself on defense if he wanted to. He's athletic enough. But you always, you get optimistic when you think about the fit with Embiid and Maxey. Like Zach LaVine, but in between Maxey and Embiid. But then it's the health concerns that come into play too, right? Like, do you want to have a guy like that along with Embiid that you have to worry about all season? And
there's health concerns too. Yeah.
But that's like a consolation. I feel like that's like a consolation prize for the Sixers. And I think that's one of those where maybe you just don't go down that route, right? Maybe that's where, like you said, you go in more towards like the prime role players that are going to be available this offseason.
Yeah, I don't think spending that amount of money on Zach LaVine would be a win this offseason. Yeah. I don't think it would be. Somebody reminded us in the chat, said that they said the same thing. Shout out to Anthony Lewis. Same thing with Paul George. What do you think the possibility really is of Paul George? If the Clippers don't offer him the money that he wants, I think there's a high possibility, because as players get towards the end of their careers or the last couple of years of their careers or whatever, you're looking at into my 40s. I'm not going to be making this amount of money, so my best interest is to get the most amount of money I can until this thing is over. And so if Daryl Morey would be the one to offer him a full-on 4-year, $200+ million max contract, and if the Clippers aren't willing to do that, I could see it happening. What do you think about that?
I think there's two options for Paul George this offseason. If he's a smart man, right? You can either sign back, which I think is the ideal situation for him. He would like to stay in LA with his podcast, where he's from, all of that. I'm sure Paul George would like to stay with the Clippers for the right price, but to your point, they have decisions to make, right? Like James Harden is a free agent as well. They have to pay him. How much are you giving to him? Does he want a max contract? And then you know maybe that weighs in on what they will be willing to give Paul George as far as his next contract. But I do agree with you. I think this is the guy that Daryl Morey looks at and he's like, yes, I'm going to go and offer him a max contract. He's going to fit seamlessly with Embiid and Maxey. And I do think from his skill set, what he does, once again, just like the commenter said, it's the same thing I said previously. He's going to fit perfectly next to Maxey and Embiid. You're just going to ask him to be a spot-up shooter, maybe occasionally pump fake, drive to the lane, right, come off screens. I think life would be really easy, and then he provides you that defensive impact as well by guarding the best players. So once again, you do worry about the injuries, right? You got to keep him healthy. I think what makes him more ideal than Zach LaVine, even though, is the size. Paul George is just a bigger guy, right? Like longer, bigger, just more ideal in between those two. So I would love for that to happen, but I do agree with your analysis. I think it's the Clippers. If not the Clippers, Daryl Morey's going to offer that max contract. It'll be the Sixers. OKC, I heard, is like a sleeper there, but I think they're just going in a different direction than that.
Yeah, I don't think OKC should be interested in Paul George. I see the Clippers offering the money at the end of the day. I think they're going to play the game until the last possible minute, but I see them offering the money. Opening a new arena without Paul George doesn't make any sense. Opening a new arena with Kawhi Leonard and letting Paul George walk it just doesn't make any sense business wise. I think they definitely give Paul George the money. James Harden's I haven't talked about him this offseason really yet at all. And you said, does he want a max contract? He probably thinks he deserves one.
I feel like he does. Because he would look dumb for like forcing his way out of Philadelphia for not getting a max contract, but then, you're just going to take less than a max elsewhere. I don't know. That would look just kind of dumb from an optics standpoint, but maybe he doesn't care. I don't know. Would he be willing to do the LA Clippers a favor? Is there another team that would offer him a max in free agency?
Maybe. It's just wild. Is James Harden still worth a max contract? If you look at it's the easy answer is no, but if you look at just his skill set, James Harden, as much as I talked about him when he requested the trade and burning bridges, requesting 3 trades in 4 years, whatever I think about his personality, the guy's one of the best facilitators I've ever seen. Yeah. You know, so if you just look at that and you say, and a team that has young stars or whatever, and you just want the last 3 or 4 years of James Harden's career, I think maybe there is teams that offer him a max contract if he can just be, if they could just put him in a role where he's just a point guard facilitator and you're not relied on to drop 35 when you need him, when you need somebody to, you know what I mean?
Funny,
so maybe
San Antonio comes to mind as you describe the situation. That's the team that comes to mind for me. I don't know how it would work with like Greg Popovich, everything there, but going back to Texas, being with those young guys, he would like make Victor Wembanyama a monster, obviously, with his facilitated game. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
That'd be tough. I also think James Harden plays a style of basketball that Greg Popovich probably absolutely hates.
Fair.
Probably not gonna happen. He would see him ISO for 7 seconds and do a step back, and he would just Pop wouldn't be having it, man.
No, that's fair.
All right, let's talk about Kelly Oubre for a second because so it came out a couple of days ago that he signed a new deal with an agency, and I thought I had it up here. I can't even find it. But I don't know if you have it or not, what the name of the agency is, but he signed a new contract with an agent. And basically Kelly Oubre, coming into last offseason, was trying to find a team that he could showcase himself, show that he still has a lot to give to an NBA team, and hopefully get a big-time contract. It's crazy that he almost didn't get signed to an NBA team. It's crazy that playing for the Charlotte Hornets can end your NBA career like that. Because then he comes to the Sixers and it's like, holy hell, Kelly Oubre brings so much to a roster just from a mentality standpoint, just from an absolute fighter type of like, just I'm going to the rim, nobody's stopping me.
Yeah.
You're going to live and die with the decisions that he makes. He's going to take on 3 guys instead of passing the ball. But I loved watching him play. I didn't care if he tried to dunk on 3 guys instead of passing the ball. It was entertaining to me, but I respected this guy's just undenying confidence every time he had the ball in his hands. And so it's cool for him that he got that opportunity and got to showcase himself. And now I think he's going to get paid. And sadly, I don't know if the Sixers are going to pay money that maybe other teams are going to offer him. And I would absolutely hate to see him go because he's just nitty gritty, man. He fits what Philly loves in a basketball player. Yeah. So I came across my guy Aiden Laporta right here that said my final offer for Kelly Oubre would be 3 years, $39 million. That's a good salary, a good team to play with, while also not having to move again. Plus, the fans were always super supportive of him. Do you think he gets more than 3 years, $39 million from on the free agency market?
So what? That's $13 million.
Yeah.
Season.
Yeah, it's about $13 million a year. Yeah.
There's this like 15, 16 sounds a little bit better, I feel like. And it feels like he could get that on the market given what else is available. Like after you get past like the Paul Georges, the Klay Thompsons, the LeBrons, Kelly Oubre is like that next guy on that next tier when you talk about role players available. So yeah, I think he could possibly get more than that. But to your point, he was refreshing, right? Like to bring him in, obviously on a minimum contract, it was great. So you didn't have to have like great expectations for him. You could just look at him without expectations in a sense. He came in, he was obviously a big part early on as a 6th man off the bench. But as the season went on, it just became undeniable that he should be in the starting lineup. Much better when you're like watching guys like Ben Simmons in the past and Tobias Harris, right? Guys that just freeze up or are afraid of the moment. It was refreshing to see a guy, even if that 3-pointer is bricked off the back of the rim, he's willing to shoot it. He's willing to shoot it. Even if the ball goes flying when he tries to dunk on 3 guys, he's still willing to go to the rack. Obviously, Philly loves, like you said, that just nitty-gritty type of personality, the willingness to go in there and do the dirty stuff with a smile on your face as well, right? Like he was a real cool guy to have on the team, especially for a minimum contract. But now I do think he deserves obviously more money for what he put out there on the court this year. It's going to be interesting. It's all going to come down to Kelly Oubre and obviously the guidance. I saw the agencies with its like Power CAA, something like that. But it depends on the agency. It depends on Kelly Oubre, his thoughts towards Philadelphia. Because like this tweet says, you talk about who you're going to play around. You're not going to play around better superstars for the price that you might get. Because who's it going to come from? Like the Detroit Pistons? You know what I mean? Like what team is going to offer that higher amount when you could just play with Embiid and Maxey and look like a really, really good player, right? While you still get your bag and you finish your season with the same team you went into it with this year. So it's going to come down to Oubre. How much does he like being on Nick Nurse's team, working with Daryl Morey, working with Embiid and Maxey? There's a chance, man. I think there's a chance. I don't think
is he up there on? Is he at the top of like Sixers? Like who you think they really, really need to bring back? Is he up at the top?
He is the most that I would pay for out of the guys remaining. You know what I mean? Like I would be willing to give him the most money out of the guys that are becoming available. Batum looked great. He is old. There's always that downside of like, when is he just going to look his age, right? We seem to deal with that a lot in history. So it makes you a little shy there.
Batum has something that can allow him to play for a really long time, and that's the fact that he can shoot the ball like without using his legs. You know what I mean? Yeah, he catches it above his head and just fires it. And like I think that guy, if he really wants to, he could play for till he's 45. He doesn't. I mean, he was still a pretty good defender in a lot of moments in the playoffs too for his size and his age. Yeah, he could play for a long time. But another guy that you don't want to you don't want to be putting in heavy minutes and in situations where you're really relying on him, because as you saw with him and Lowry, they're going to burn out. They're 38, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, he shouldn't be starting, right? Like,
I think Batum's 35, but yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just think you got to at least bring Batum back. It's in a position where he's not starting. How do you feel about Buddy Hield? Are you out on Buddy Hield?
I'm not out on Buddy Hield because I love the just having that one guy that can be a sniper, that can, like, I've rarely seen a guy like Buddy Hield where when he dials it in, he's not missing. He's as streaky comes, and when he's on, dude, he's gonna hit 5, 6, 7 in a row, and it just starts to look like he can't miss everything. He's fading away in the corner, hand in the face, it goes in, and then when he gets cold, it's like when he's cold, he's giving you nothing. I mean, but that's what 3-point shooters are. That's what specialist 3-point shooters are. JJ Redick types. Like, if they're not hitting the shot, they're not giving you much of anything else. I think Buddy Hield has a little bit of a combo playmaking game too against certain matchups. Bigger defenders, not so much, and better defensive teams, not so much. But I'm not out on Buddy Hield. I like him a lot, and I think it's always valuable to have just a straight sniper on your team that you can play in certain lineups. Nurse went back and forth with playing him in the playoffs, not playing him. I thought it was wild that Nurse gave him a second chance in that. I feel like he didn't play the first couple games in the Knicks series.
Yeah.
And then he was hot when he came back in. So I like that Nurse gave him a second chance to get hot and start hitting some shots. But I'm not out on Buddy Hield. I guess it would depend on the money.
Yeah. And we would need to see him, obviously, like, give him that opportunity to get a full season with this team, with Nick Nurse in that system, right? Get comfortable. Because I think that's part of that transition at the trade deadline. Some guys handle it well, some guys don't. And I think that's why we saw him, just perform so up and down. Obviously, he is a streaky player, but just so up and down, radical extremes from lows to highs that we saw over the second half of the season. Maybe it looks a lot more consistent when you play a whole summer, right, with the same team and the same coach. Campaign, it's interesting. He's a similar type of guy, and he is the guy that kind of stole Buddy Hield's minutes down the stretch. So I would be open to Campaign as well.
Yeah, I absolutely love Cameron Payne, man. And
great
again, it's kind of the Kelly Oubre thing where you were watching guys scared of the moment, then you see a guy that's not scared of the moment. So maybe we overrated him a little bit because it was so nice to see. Cameron Payne might be the same situation where you've seen years of just not having that playmaker off of the bench that can just come into the game and give a spark of just energy. And Cameron Payne has a level of confidence for a guy his size and the sideways jump shot. And like, he's just, nobody's telling me I'm not making this shot type of dude. And he just, I love what he did, man. So, and veteran, doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I mean, runs a pick and roll, good playmaker. I love Cameron Payne. So yeah, I think Cameron Payne. Yeah. I think so. Because Kyle Lowry's 38, man, he's about to be 39. Put
him on the coaching staff.
Yeah, when is enough, man? It's a young man's game. Let's be real. He still has a lot of skill left, but your legs don't have that endurance when you're 39, man. Unless you're LeBron James, who
freak.
It's once in a lifetime type of player, once in history type of player.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He doesn't carry like the size of a Batum, right, at that age either. Batum has the length. He has that 3-and-D capability. So
yeah, I'm with that. Last thing, I guess, what do you want the Sixers to do in the draft? I know there's some talk about players that could be there at 16 who could be contributors right off the back. Some of the older guys, some of the older, I guess, kids that are 22, 4-year type of players, Tristan Da Silva, guys like that, who you might be able to bring in as a rookie and give them, decent minutes and fit a role and actually contribute to the team as a rookie. I don't know how Nick Nurse does with. I think Nick Nurse gets a bad rep a little bit about not playing young guys, but I think it's just when I look at somebody like Ricky Council, him coming out of the G League hurts him a little bit, and I think he gets like a reputation with coaching staffs and GMs and things like that. Like, oh, we can't play this guy, we can't play it. But if you draft somebody who's had a high profile and has had a high level 4-year college career, I think Nick Nurse might be willing a little bit more to play a rookie like that. What do you think they should do, man? You think there's guys in the draft that they should look at, or do you think they absolutely should be trading that pick in win now mode?
There's a few guys that I think you could go to in the draft, but it would take the draft board falling your way. So I think overall, when you look at it, if you can trade it for somebody that you can immediately put in to the lineup, right, and get valuable minutes immediately, then yeah, I'm doing it. Now, who that player would be for the 16th pick, that's up for discretion. I think the latest rumor I saw was Moses Moody. That was not a rumor, but more of an idea. So I guess that's where the value, like if you're looking for a value mark of how valuable is the 16th pick, Moses Moody would be in that conversation. So I don't know. It's like he could, expand his role in a different team and look a lot better. He is a guy that can score. He can do a little bit of everything. So maybe, that's something they could explore. But I do think if there's any type of role player that becomes available for that pick, you have to take that opportunity, because there's just a simple chance that the guy that you're looking for does not fall to you at that point. That you're right in the middle of the first round. So it's hard to say after, picks 8, 9, 10. With this draft especially, like we don't really know the value outside of maybe the top 3, because this draft is so poor with top-end talent, right? So it's hard to imagine what some of these teams will even be thinking that are ahead of you. So to that point, I don't know. Like if you can get one of these, kind of like Tyrese Maxey, right? Coming out of the draft, he kind of falls a little bit, but he still went to that big name school. He still has that pedigree. I would probably lean more towards a guy like that, and Isaiah Collier, Jared McCain, that type of guy. But those guys are all projected anywhere from 10 to 20 where they could fall. And I don't think you take that chance. I think if you can get a guy that will get in and get minutes this upcoming season, you go ahead and take it.
Yeah, the last time we were convinced Daryl Morey was going to trade the first round pick and ended up not doing it, I think he ended up drafting Jaden Springer, who that was crazy because, like, if you're trying to trade the pick for win now, you don't succeed in trading it, then you don't even draft a player who has the experience level that could come in and play right away. So like his panic move there was just to draft a project player for the future, and then he traded him for a second round pick anyway, which is just, I mean, again, hindsight's 2020, but that's just wild. And look, Jaden Springer wins a championship, everybody. But yeah, and he's going to try to trade it. We'll see if but I guess what I'm saying is if he fails to trade it, I would like to see him look at the draft and then not make a panic move and take a project player. Try to get one of these guys that could contribute right away if you fail at trading the pick. Money Mar, man, thanks for the contribution. Nobody's trading the 16th pick for Caruso. Don't forget the Sixers traded the 22nd pick in a draft for DeAnthony Melton. Yeah. So I don't think first round draft picks have as much value as people put on them. Like,
yeah, is he saying that like Chicago wouldn't do it? Because I think the value, I think they would have to give more than the 16th pick for Caruso.
Yeah, what are we saying here? Are we saying you shouldn't trade the 16th pick for Caruso, or are you saying the Chicago Bulls would never give Caruso up for the 16th? I would lean
towards that second one right there. Like Chicago's not doing that for the 16th pick. They would need more than that. Just from the rumors, right? The rumors for Caruso's like value to the Bulls is like ridiculous. So
if you could get
I would do that all day though.
Oh yeah, if you could get Caruso for the 16th pick in this draft, 100%.
Yeah,
he is saying that. He is saying the Sixers are not doing that foolishness.
Interesting. So who are you drafting with the pick that is like is better than Alex Caruso?
Exactly. That's the thing. Because that's how you have to look at it. Anytime you trade a first round pick, you have to look at it like that. You're trying to get a player, and that Alex Caruso is better than whoever you would draft at the 16th pick.
Yeah, right. Like now. That. Moses Moody, no, right? Like we don't know that he's better than the first round pick. There's a chance, But Alex Caruso, that's like a knockdown. Yeah, I'm doing that all day.
I think you would have to trade the 16th pick and maybe another. You would have to at least another first, probably. If you could get him for the 16th pick and that like 2026 OKC pick, whatever it is, worst of OKC, Houston, and somebody else. I forget. It was like a pick swap a couple years ago.
Maybe you can throw in Paul Reed.
I would still do that. I would still do that. Yeah,
I would too.
The 16th pick in this draft does not have a lot of value. Let's be serious. That's what I think.
No, because if it did, it would already be traded, right? Like, it's not like we don't want to go out and trade this pick for somebody that's going to come in right away and impact the game with Maxey and Embiid. It's just that the deal isn't really out there. The value may not be out there as of right now, but maybe the package was something else to get a star. You know how Morey wants to go star hunting.
Again, we traded a first-round pick for DeAnthony Melton, man. He trades first-round picks. He'll do it.
Yeah.
He'll definitely do it.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. Anything else you want to throw out there? Anything else you got, man? Anything else you want to talk about, man? Thanks for coming through again. I appreciate this, man.
Absolutely. Anytime, man. I'm sure we can link up anytime over the summer here, discuss this a lot more as more and more rumors come out. But it was definitely a pleasure. I don't think I have anything else for you. I came in, I gave out a few things that I had on the skillet here, but later this summer, man, we'll have to get into some more and see where things go.
Definitely.
For the 76ers. Man.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Scotty from DSM Media, man. Everybody subscribe to his YouTube channel. Link is in the description. Follow him on Twitter. There's his handle on the screen. Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for coming through. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit the like button one time for us, man. And we'll talk to you soon, man. Lots of things about to happen. There's literally nothing to talk about right now. So we just, it is what it is.
It's coming.
Somehow I still talk Sixers every day, no matter what. Like I'm still on. Sometimes I'm like, how am I still on Twitter talking about this basketball team, man? In June, for what's wrong with me? But yeah. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being delusional with me, man.
Always, brother.
Yeah, shout out to everybody, man. I love you guys. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.